It is the time for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos to make a decision on the return or not of Mason Greenwood and Jadon Sancho. The two players have made it known to their close friends that they do want to return. But what exactly is going to happen? Welcome to the United Hotspot. My name is Webb, and guys, it's decision time, and I'm here to talk about it now. In this video, I'm going to focus on my reasons why I think one can return, the other might not exactly be the best idea. I think for Jadon Sancho, to be precise, it would be better if he continues to revive his career elsewhere. Here is the reason. First of all, let's break it down, and we'll start from performances. If performances are the reason, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe is here to solve our performance problem. If performances are the basis on which Sir Jim will make the decision for them to return or not, that is Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, I think it is clear that Sancho has no chance. Sancho, in 7 games played at Borussia Dortmund since he returned on loan, he has only assisted once, hasn't scored a single goal in 7 games. Now, he has been attacked by fans. The coach himself said it at some point after a game that he was the worst player on the pitch, and he knows he's supposed to step up his game. So obviously, if you look at performances, you cannot compare Jadon Sancho's stats to those of Mason Greenwood, who has played 23 games, scored 6 goals, and assisted 5 times in the La Liga for Getafe. So you look at that, and based on that, clearly you would rather bring Mason Greenwood in place of Jadon Sancho. That's one. Number two, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to look at the premise of wages, how much they earn, because we are in a situation where we do want to spend money on players who deserve the money. We want to trim down our wage bill. Jadon Sancho is earning £300,000 per week. That's his wage per week, £300,000, of which Man United pays £100,000 of that. Now, compare that makes him obviously one of the top earners at Manchester United. Now, compare that to Mason Greenwood, who is earning £75,000 per week. And I think it's a no-brainer. One is performing better, earning less. The other is performing poorly, earning more than 3 times more what the other is earning. So again, on that premise of wages and who is cheaper or more expensive, I think Mason Greenwood would be the preferred option to return if a decision has to be made. Now, those might not even be the biggest issues. The third one for me is the bigger one, their character and behavior, because Sir Jim made it clear he will make first of all, himself will make the decisions on Mason Greenwood, especially because that's where the bigger discussion might be. But he said it will be based on reason, not on emotions and people's feelings. Now, let's base it on reasons and on whether these boys are good people or not. Because for me, the most important thing we need to look at, because they are both young players and they have a chance to, because they have shown how talented they are. For Greenwood, it's still showing, gets better by the day. For Jadon Sancho, I don't think he's completely done in terms of talent. I think it's just a phase. It's a mental thing. His issues are more mental than physical. So those are behavioral. So if we look at the behavior of the two players and we are to base that on that to decide whether they return or not, honestly, and whereas what Greenwood is accused of doing, which was acquitted of, is by culture in the UK and globally, by human nature, is gross and worse than anything you can imagine. You don't raise your hands to beat a woman and stuff. Guys, we can no longer talk about that now because he was acquitted and he went back, returned to the same girl that he was accused of beating. That is one. But let's assume that he played it somewhere and in a way he did it, but he reconciled and yes, let's assume he did it. Let's assume, and I don't want to even say, but let's assume he did it. Honestly, it is easier to rehabilitate Mason Greenwood than it would be to rehabilitate a Jadon Sancho who is clearly an indisciplined person, and history has it clear. For me, I think Jadon Sancho's issue is more of a character. He's that person, that indisciplined, lazy, talented kid who cannot exactly be tamed, because all managers, and it cannot be a mistake, that many managers have been complaining about him. His issues are more personality. He's always on Instagram, even when he's struggling to put on performances. We're seeing him on Instagram posting videos and celebrating. He's going out in the media openly to, to go against his manager. That's indiscipline of the highest order. It's self-inbuilt indiscipline. It's not an anger management, for example, thing which, because we know that people have been rehabilitated to manage their anger. So for me, but also if someone has anger management issues and they do something that costs them a lot, usually they will learn their lesson. So if Greenwood, and I'm saying in quotes, if ever he was guilty, if he ever felt like he was guilty of any of these things, here he learned his lesson, and he can certainly not do that again. He will never raise his hands up to beat a woman if he ever did so. So for me, I look at all those three areas, all those three facets, and I'm thinking there is absolutely no way we can open the door for the return of Jadon Sancho and close it out on Mason Greenwood. I think we would be hypocrites of the highest order. We would be unclear on what we want. It would feel oxymoron, like we're saying this but doing the exact opposite. That's exactly how that would feel. But and also imagine bringing back Jadon Sancho to put him in this group of players that has got a core of young players who are promising and improving by the day, progressing steadily. Kobe Mainu, Alejandro Garnacho, and of course now Rasmus Højlund. So you bring this bad character, poor attitude, earning more than double any of them, and put them in the same dressing room, training every day together with them. I feel that would be bad because it's like getting drops of salt and dropping them into milk when it's about to boil. You know what I mean? That is what exactly we'll be doing. Self-destruction, because you do not have, you're rebuilding a team. You've got this core of young players on which you're going to form your rebuild. That's Kobe Maina, Alejandro Garnacho, and Rasmus Højlund. They are young, earning peanuts. Of course, Kobe Maino is having contract talks. I'm sure Garnacho will as well. Højlund is earning £85,000 per week. Now, he might be comfortable now, but bring back Jadon Sancho with his indiscipline. He's earning £300,000 per week. And his character, drop him in there. What are you doing to the rest of the players, these young players who you're trying to mentor and trying to mold into proper Manchester United players? I think for me, that would be proper full self-destruction, and I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Ineos can sanction that. I don't think they would do that. So when I look at all the things, and I've spent time to try and scrutinize and analyze the whole Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood situation, and I'm thinking, actually, if you look at it with an open mind, Jadon Sancho is the worst character for Man United, for the image of the club, for the dressing room, for the football, than Mason Greenwood by far. Yet people are not as critical of Jadon Sancho as they are of Mason Greenwood, and it defeats my understanding. It defies logic. Of these two players, if there is one, if it were me and I wanted to make friends of any of the two, I would never go close to Jadon Sancho. Never. I would never step close. I would never tell my child to go close to Jadon Sancho. He's clearly indisciplined. He's not a hard worker. You don't earn that amount of money. You're signed for 71 million pounds, highly rated. You fail to perform completely, but you're on Instagram dancing. You go back on loan in a league in Germany. You struggle, but he doesn't seem to be. Then you go out in the media, you're attacking your coach. That's indiscipline of the highest order. For us in Africa, we are taught you never talk back to elders. You don't do that. And I love Erik ten Hag for what he did. Clearly, by the time he banished him, Erik ten Hag banished Jadon Sancho from the training ground, from Carrington. Do you know what that means? He did not kill anyone, but he's saying you're not good enough to associate with the rest of the team. That's bad. That's ugly. It's more ugly than anything you want to accuse Mason Greenwood of doing. It's extremely wrong. So for me, I think Sir Jim's job is clear. What Sir Jim has got to do, I think, is clear and evident. There can't be so many debates about it between Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood. Whereas we know that both of them would want to return, I think it's a no-brainer. Jadon Sancho can't return to Man United. And regardless who the manager is, it doesn't have to be Erik ten Hag. whichever manager we have post Eric Ten Hag, or if Eric Ten Hag stays, it's okay. But Jadon Sancho, even if he apologized, I honestly don't think by character he is a right guy to bring back to associate with these players. Yet for Mason Greenwood, I think it would be a statement to these players that, you know what, you can do wrong, you're humans, because you can do wrong out of anger and out of stuff, but we always have your back. We can be there to support you and help you do better, hoping that you don't do the same thing in the future. So Greenwood would be a life lesson, would be an example to these young boys, an inspiration. It would be a story of, the club has got us, the club has our backs. Jadon Sancho is a proper case of an indisciplined person, and that's who he is. Welcome to the United Hotspot.